Hello, 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 and welcome to The Freak Show. I am Jacqueline Steele Thurmond. I'm joined by my husband.
Sam Thurman.
And today we are going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, which is something that I feel like is a common theme in this podcast, is talking about fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can overcome fear, we can do pretty much anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a very common theme for us because I think that we've
Faced it
we've
over and
faced
over.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What would it feel like to live without fear? What if part of your purpose in this lifetime is to let go of fear? And how would your life be different? I want to go over a couple of business items. Our Freak app is done. By the time you listen to this, it will probably be available everywhere. Right now, we're just working out a couple of kinks. But if you want to face fear head on, head over to thefreakapp.com and download the app because we have several calibrations on fear and facing it and some tools and tactics we use to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, get on our email list. We'll leave a link for that in the show notes, but we'll be giving updates on the Freak app. We'll be giving updates on all kinds of cool things that we have coming up. And then if you haven't already, please leave us a review. We'll start reading them again here on air, but getting your review, like I love reading the reviews. I love getting feedback on this podcast. We put a lot of time and effort into it. And so to get positive reviews is such a boost, and it helps people find our podcast and get on a higher frequency,
Yeah.
which is
And
what
how
this is
can
all
can
about.
people like shoot messages if they have feedback, like stuff they want to hear about or want us to do more of?
Absolutely. You can do that by replying to one of the emails from our email newsletter, or you can email us at hello@beckonliving.com. Again, that's hello@beckonliving.com. We also have the High Frequency Society text message group where we send out really wonderful text messages weekly, bi-weekly. So if you want to get involved with that as well, that will be in the show notes too. But without further ado, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of the episode.
Sweet.
You want me to go for it?
Let's do it.
Okay. So in our world, fear is used as a tool to control us. We don't have to look any further than what's going on in social media and in the media right now regarding the presidential election, right? Fear is such a um useful,
It's a motivator.
it's a motivator tool to get people to fall in line and believe something. But in today's episode, I want to chat the antidote to fear that we have been utilizing successfully. And the way that I came across this was because I was a few months ago in a state, maybe it was like a month ago. I don't remember. Time is an illusion anyway, but I was in a state where I was feeling crippled by fear. And I'm sure so many of you can relate to that when you feel like there is no way forward. You don't even know like how to put your foot in front of the other. You feel so crippled by fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was journaling and I was talking with God. And I find that when I ask very direct questions of God, I get very direct answers. And I asked God, how do I move past this fear? How do I get over this? And I felt God tell me the way that you get over fear is to live. Capital LIVE. Live. Live full out. You want to out with the devil? Live your life. And that hit me so deeply because I realized that fear was preventing me from moving forward in any way. And the way to get over fear is not necessarily to eliminate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's to move in spite of it.
Yeah, well, you're never going to eliminate it.
And that's our episode. Thanks for tuning in. What does it mean to you, though, to live your life? And is that an effective tool for you to overcome fear, like it was for me?
Yes is the answer. Um, I think that no matter what your no matter what, so live your life full out. I think no matter what, you're going to have to move forward. Otherwise, become a hermit or just let it overtake you um, and make you small. But I think to me, it's living full out. But in doing that, it's changing your perception of what fear actually is. And as opposed to it being this negative thing, allowing it and reframing it to really be a positive, that whatever presents itself, whatever scares you, um, is probably exactly what you need to do and need to confront. And so, like we said, fear is never going to go away. Um, so you might as well just change your relationship with it and see it as opportunity and pointing you in the direction that you need to go. Because so often, like that period, the period of time that you're talking about when you were crippled with fear, now that you are removed from that period and you look back on it, what were you, what like is
Was it
your
real?
was your emotional response to it proportionate to
No,
the threat?
not even remotely. Not even remotely.
And I think that 99% of the time that's the case. And that's why they say, fear is an illusion because we're catastrophizing things and assuming we get this voice in our head that tells us all the bad things that could happen and all the bad ways that or negative ways that things could play out. And we forget about the probability that those probably aren't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we focus on the chance that something could go wrong. And then the reality is, too, and what I've experienced, that even if something does go wrong, it's not nearly as bad or it's not proportionate
Mm-hmm.
to the fear that I have of it. So I think that's a process of gaining confidence and reference points in your past of where you've had a similar emotion or a similar response and overcome that fear, because if you never face the fear, then you never get that waypoint. You never get that reference that you can go back to that says, "Hey, I've felt this way before about something. I went through it. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. I'm on the other side. This is going to be the same way." And the more and more and more you do that, the less of an effect, the less of a lasting effect that it can have on you, or a negative effect, because you can still hold on to those positive aspects that motivate you.
Yeah. So, real quick, I think it's kind of interesting that I feel like our roles have reversed because I feel like in the first part of our marriage, I was the one who did not struggle with fear as much.
Hmm.
And now I feel like I have struggled with fear more recently. I mean, I grew up where like my dad set such a positive example for me of not allowing fear to control our emotions. I remember being at a Mexican restaurant and a tornado warning was rolling through our town, and I immediately got really scared. I was little, and my dad said, "You know what? The chances of it actually hitting where we are right now are so slim. We're going to keep living our life."
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a senior in high school and I was about to go on a trip to Europe, and this is when the bombings in London happened, and I was supposed to go like 2 days later. And a lot of people were saying that I should cancel my trip. I shouldn't go. It wasn't safe. And I remember my dad saying, it's going to be safer now than it was a week ago because there's going to be so many more police out, people keeping an eye. So maybe unwisely, but he was like, I have no issue with you going right now. I think it's going to be safer than it was.
Hmm.
And so I had a tendency to just keep walking forward. I went skydiving when I was 16 years old by myself. So I like to think that I don't allow fear to rule my life. Yet as I've gotten older, I have a son now, I have a husband, and I feel like I have allowed that to create this feeling in my mind that I have so much more to lose,
Mm-hmm.
which has resulted in more nuanced fears. Fears about money, fears about my health, fears about your health, fears about Roman's health. And thank God we are all healthy and doing well and we are financially stable. But, there have been moments where those fears are literally crippling.
Yeah. Well, but back to you talking about roles reversing. I think that I've never really like had a fear of the world. I'll say I think when we got married, that was the first time I really felt pressure to provide.
Mm,
Whether or not that was necessary or not, but in my mind, the role of the man and the husband is to provide. So I think at that point in time, I started to stress more and more about doing just that, providing finances and that sort of thing. And so I think that's probably what you're referencing. Um, in the beginning of our relationship or early on in our relationship, and the the funny thing is you were saying that the roles have reversed lately as you have been experiencing more fear. And I would say it's because you started working with me. So we started working together in our business. And I think that that side of things became more apparent to you and
just
more,
how risky real estate
well,
is.
just more aware of, you know, how things work and the stress of it all, and some big numbers, and if things don't go your way, if they take longer than you think they're going to take, then it can be stressful. So
It can be so
it takes
stressful.
time to get used to that. And that goes back to the whole reference point,
Mm-hmm.
reference points where you've had those experiences before, um, and
Yeah,
you recognize them. But if you haven't experienced that before,
it's terrifying.
it's, yeah, terrifying.
But then as you continue to grow, and this is the upside of dealing with your fear and facing it, is that as you continue to grow, and perfect example is in real estate, the numbers get bigger, the risk gets bigger, you grow in proportion to that fear.
Hmm.
And so your ability to take it on and your willingness to take on risk also increases as you face that fear.
Yeah. But the thing is they're not,
But
it's
I thought
not,
I said the thing. But the thing is what I said.
it's the thing on top of the thing. But it's, what was I going to say? It's not that, it's,
We were talking about fear being proportional.
right, right. Or I will say the risk is proportional to the reward. And that's not I'm the first guy to say that, risk versus reward. But, eh, the the risk is proportionate to the reward, but the fear, in my opinion, is the same.
Mm.
Like if you've never had $10 before and you risk losing that $10, then that's gonna scare the crap out of you. If it's $1 million, that's gonna scare the crap out of you. And I don't
That
think
still scares the
I
crap out of me a little bit.
yeah, but
Not as much as it
I
used to,
don't
though.
think the fear changes is what I'm saying. I
Mm.
think you get used to it.
You get stronger in the midst of it.
Yeah, you
You
get
get bigger.
right, exactly.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so I think a great plug for the Freak app comes in right now because we have a lot of calibrations about fear. One specifically that Sam did called Put Fear in Its Place. And I think you should summarize that calibration because it's extremely effective.
So all of our calibrations, so when you're listening to them, they're all basically messages to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and we've found them useful, and it's basically us working through our own stuff, and then putting it down on paper and recording it. So hopefully you, the listener, can,
Yeah.
one, know that you're not alone in what you're going through, and two, hopefully it can provide some perspective and shift your energy.
Help you walk yourself out of the maze.
Yeah, what was it that we came up with the other day? Tune your, never
But
mind. Yesterday you said something
about
and it
tuning
was,
your energy?
Yeah, but it was something, it was basically like a
One
tagline.
of those moments of brilliance that is.
I know that
I
you're
I wrote it down. I
okay.
wrote it down. I just can't remember it off the top of
So
my head.
back to the calibration. The calibration's title is Put Fear in Its Place if you want to go and give it a listen. And I would say if you're struggling right now or if you're in a hard spot where your back's against the wall, um, and just that place of, man, everything is constricted and it just feels like it's hard to breathe. Um, this would be a great calibration to listen to. And basically, it talks through what we or I talk through what we just said, and
In a
uh,
very concise way.
it's all about recognizing fear as the opportunity because that's exactly what it is, and knowing that in that period of time when you're experiencing that, recognizing that as a golden period, as a golden opportunity, because we think that, well, once this passes, then I can breathe. Once this passes, or once I have this, then everything's going to be okay. But I can't feel okay until I get to that other side. That's the opportunity. That's the real opportunity for growth. And in the calibration, I talk about how the peace that you're searching for and that you need right now is on this side of the mountain. It's on the climb up. It's not necessarily on the other
It's
side,
so
getting to the
true.
peak and going down the other side. The peace is on this side and recognizing that what you're going through, what that fear is that you're facing is for you, and that you find peace in that, and that it's heavy right now, it's heavy right now, but the longer that you carry it, and you're going to have to carry it, just accept the fact, but you're going to have to carry it. And the longer you do, the stronger you will get and the lighter it will feel. And that never, and then you're going to have that reference point for the next time that something similar comes along. And maybe that, if you think of it, it's you're carrying this big boulder on your shoulders right now, and that's your fear. Well, that's going to get light over time, and the next time when you find a boulder that's twice as big, you're going to know how to carry that. But it's not going to be proportionate, just like we said, because you know how to face it
Yeah, maybe
and
the boulder is twice as big, but you're 4 times as big now.
right, you grow stronger. You go
Yeah.
stronger. So,
So thank you for sharing that. And I think another important um, antidote to fear that you should share is about the climber who free soloed El Capitan.
yeah, it was just a reel. And I can't even remember who was interviewing him, but so for those of you that are not familiar, free soloing is rock climbing without any
Rope,
rope
any
or
kind of,
anything.
yeah,
You're
safety net.
basically just walking outside and climbing a cliff uh, without any safety.
Ugh.
So, a great documentary if you haven't watched it. But he was talking about fear, and the guy interviewing him asked him, why do you do this stuff? Like, why do you put yourself in dangerous situations? Just trying to understand his mentality. And what the guy said was that one of the reasons he does put himself in real danger, and he hammered that, he put emphasis on the real danger because real danger is you're about to fall off a cliff. Real danger is you're, getting attacked
Yeah,
by
you're
a bear,
facing
like
death.
that kind of stuff that's going to
Mm-hmm.
have serious, if not fatal consequences. But he puts himself in that situation to understand what real fear is. And that's what keeps him on living on the edge. Now, not saying that you have to go to that length in order to feel that, but what he said that was interesting was that if we never experience real danger and real fear, then we'll start to create it for ourselves. And he referenced somebody going through
Mm.
everybody's, seen that person that's freaking out going through the airport, and they're scared to go through TSA, or they're scared to get on the airplane, and they make a mountain out of a molehill of something that's not real fear. But if we never push forward and we never actually experience something that's dangerous or risky, we're naturally going to create it. It's in our DNA. Fear is what kept us alive for a long time. So we're naturally going to create those things in our lives. And I just thought it was interesting because it puts things in perspective, just how much we fear things that aren't really dangerous. And just one more thing, even with money and finances, ultimately, yeah, it can affect your way of life or your quality of life to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, it's not going to kill you. It's only
No.
going to kill you if you stress so much and give yourself a heart attack or whatever it is. But it's not really even
Well,
dangerous,
do you remember that?
threatening.
Do you remember that real estate investor we met? And he said he heard a great quote, and it was, "If money can solve my problem, it's not a real problem."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was a
And
great one.
it's so true. Um, so yeah, when you're in a fearful state, go pick up the Freak app. That's one of the reasons we created it. It was to help you get out of that mental maze with tangible tools and literal frequency to change the tune of your thoughts. And then remember that most of the time, fear is just a thought. Dismiss it as such. This is just a thought. It doesn't have to stick unless you let it stick. And ultimately, like we said at the beginning of this episode, the antidote to fear is living. Fear keeps you stuck. Living keeps you moving forward. So I want to end with a question. What makes you feel alive? Go and do it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you have the best day ever. Thank you so much for listening to The Freak Show with Sam Thurmond and me, Jacqueline Steele Thurmond. We would love to connect with you via our website, beckonliving.com, and on social media.
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Beck and Living, and you can join our email list to receive uplifting messages, podcast and business updates, and discounts on high-frequency products just for our freaky community.
Cheers to high frequency living.